Check 1, check 2. I'm the anchor / rapper that you never thought would happen. Commentary get it cracking like pads when they start whacking. Applaud like studio audience audio. It's the Rob You Sports Stu Show. Is that so? Thanks for your view. Even more if you cash out. Flowers like me was center when we'll rap back. Blitz beats like 4th and goal on the 1. Y'all punt fake, I block your field goal, son. Day and night game on grass and Coliseum. Flows to your dome, post caption to read it. Instant replay for highlights. You see them? Sports commentate and sling hip hop. Wait, they suck bait. My flow like crushed grapes. Bottled and preserved like all them finer herbs. Spices, vices, one of the nicest. Nicety takes the cake like ice cream. And welcome back to another action-packed episode of the Rob You Sports Stu Show. NFL 2021 preseason going into week 1 of the NFL 2021 season. So as many of y'all know, there was a recent Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and this ceremony was different than many of the others because it combined 2 Hall of Fame classes. The classes of 20 and 21 were both inducted into the Hall of Fame simultaneously. And some of those players from that Hall of Fame 20 class, which was the 100th anniversary of the NFL Hall of Fame, and those 20 inductees were, some of them most notably, safety Steve Atwater of the Denver Broncos, wide receiver Isaac Bruce of the St. Louis Rams and those Brady Show on Turf teams, wide receiver Harold Carmichael, running back of the Colts Adrian James, who had that versatility and running skill. Also the hard-hitting safety with the long hair Troy Polamalu of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also Donnie Shell, the defensive back of the Raiders. And there were also 2 legendary 90s head coaches inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they were Bill Cowher of the Steelers and also Jimmy Johnson of the Dallas Cowboys. Some of the more notable Hall of Fame 2021 enshrinees were Calvin Megatron Johnson, the top-notch receiver for the Detroit Lions, who had the speed, he had the size, he had the hands, he had the ability. He would go up and get the balls, get the passes, and definitely was disappointed for a lot of fans to see him retire early because of him not feeling the organization was going in the right direction and they didn't really have a chance of winning, but still one of the greats of all time nonetheless. Also, there was the dominant defensive back Charles Woodson out of Michigan, where he also won a Heisman, catching one-handed interceptions, returning punts, and playing wide receiver. And then coming into the NFL as a corner for the Raiders, and also playing cornerback and safety for the Green Bay Packers. And Charles Woodson was definitely one of the top cornerbacks in NFL history, not just in his day, in his prime. 09 Defensive Player of the Year and a 9-time Pro Bowler and 4-time All-Pro. Not to mention, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Peyton Manning, from that Manning lineage, known for his famous Omaha audible. Rather, he was bluffing or actually calling the audible. The 5-time MVP, 7-time All-Pro. Also won those Super Bowls with the Colts and Tony Dungy, and also with the Broncos late in his career with that defense. So, also there was Drew Peterson, the original wide receivers, Cowboys number 88, and also the guard, Alan Finneker of the Jets and Cardinals. So these were some of the Hall of Fame inductees for the class of 20 and 2021. And definitely was a great ceremony for them to be able to have it after not having it the previous season based on COVID. So, as we look at some of the top storylines for 2021 season, there's the COVID coercion curiosity controversy. And when I say COVID coercion curiosity controversy, I'm speaking of different players, notably star players, who have come down with COVID or have COVID-like symptoms. And some of them have been questioned by the media if they took a vaccine or not. So, of course, there were some players who have been very outspoken about not wanting to take a vaccine or not getting a vaccination. Players like Cole Beasley Also, Kirk Cousins, who said he will put up plexiglass around him to try to curb not spreading it to teammates, but then the whole quarterback room for the Minnesota Vikings caught COVID. And also, in a recent interview after preseason training camp practice, training camp media had asked Cam Newton if he had taken the COVID vaccine, and he declined to answer, saying that was something personal. So we've heard about players speaking out, and even Jimmy Graham, the tight end, said he felt like he was forced to take the COVID vaccine. So they have had some teams who've had a high success rate of getting the teams also 100% vaccinated. And I believe one team has already reached that level. Most teams, I believe, are in the 80 percentiles. But the question for a lot of players going forward in the 2021 season, to be or not to be? That is the question. Just to piggyback on health, I think the NFL should do more to try to help and support the mental health of these players who are risking their lives and their bodies and their brains on each and every play. Because we've seen far too often different NFL players have blow-ups or outbursts of anger where someone is hurt or injured, or domestic dispute, or someone when they're out doing something, someone is struck, or someone is given some form of abuse. And maybe it's the pounding that a lot of these players take or give out, and maybe it adds up, and at some point they need to vent that frustration and let go of some of that anger they could be building up by playing such a physical game, such a demanding sport. So I think the NFL should definitely do more to help some of these players with their mental health, and not just try to act like there's nothing going on when we see several players who retired commit suicide. Most recently, Vincent Jackson of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and also Junior Seau had a similar situation. And they have to study those brains and detect that CTE, because the NFL, I don't think, is doing as much as they can to protect the players, even with the headgear. Instead of just having padding on the inside, maybe some of the helmets need padding on the outside as well, just to try to protect their brain. And even changing the name of helmet from helmet to headgear protection, because if you break down the word helmet, and the hell that these players meet is in the form of CTE after they have left the game and their brain is taking this abuse, or their mental health is affected and they lash out to family members, friends, or acquaintances. So I think the NFL should do a better job helping these players along with their mental health while they're playing and after they have retired. It's my humble opinion. So the NFL needs to do more. And in other news, we have the beginning of a 17-game NFL season. So for the first time, the NFL will have an 18-week season this time with 17 games. And of course, 17 games, that will be an extra week for teams to generate extra revenue, extra advertising. And they're also going to have an extra team inside the playoffs this year as well. So you see the NFL trying to really go for the gusto as far as maximizing what they offer to the United States and worldwide media for the sports entertainment value. Adding an extra week of the season and also adding extra slots in the playoffs just to make the game that much more open, so that many more fan bases can participate. And then it's also a numbers game of revenues and different things they can do to generate money. So we'll see how this season goes. Some of the players were opposed to it, of course, saying there's more higher risk of injury and it's a longer drawn out season, but we'll see how things pan out for the players and for the league this year. And in other news, there have been a few quarterback controversies going back and forth with some of these NFL squads. But of course, you know the return of Green Bay Packers quarterback, the return of the Mac to the pack, Aaron Rodgers. And I'm sure he was very much welcomed by the front office, despite them going back and forth with him calling them out on certain instances. And even now, he's rallying certain teammates and players on the team to politic and convince the front office to bring in a former Green Bay Packer, Clay Matthews, as they already brought back a former receiver, Randall Cobb. So we'll see if Drew Brees can get that kind of influence and clout that he's been searching for from that Green Bay organization. Coming back to take over the reins from Love. And also, one of the other top quarterback competitions coming out of camp will be Garoppolo and Trey Lance, the young, hot rookie for the 49ers. He's shown some ability in the preseason. He has the wheels, he has the arm, but is he ready for prime time? Or do the 49ers want to try to trade Garoppolo away, see what they can get for him? So we'll see what happens with the 49ers quarterback situation. Also, down in New Orleans, will Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill get the call? Personally, I believe Jameis Winston will get the start, but Taysom will probably come in for trick plays, gadget plays, zone read, and confusion of the defense. But we'll see how everything pans out. Also, the Saints will be starting this season without top flight receiver Mike Thomas, who's just been getting his surgery done and will be missing a few months of the beginning of the season as he heals and rehabs. Then we have one of the more spicy competitions, that being Andy Dalton and the rookie Fields out of Ohio State. Now, Fields is coming and showing a lot of potential, a lot of promise, and a lot of pizzazz, and he's been making some great plays, they said, in preseason practice, and also he did all right in his first preseason game, getting live action. So he said that the game was slow to him based off the defense he's facing, which is the Bears defense. So that's a good defense to give him a good look, because, Bears have some nice players over there. They're going to come after him. But, of course, Fields may give the Bears a better chance to win, but you don't want to, of course, ruin his confidence early in his young career if he has some setbacks or they have to take him out of the game after throwing a few interceptions and put Dalton back in the game. So we'll see how the Cowboys play it, but I think if Dalton does start, he may just start for a few weeks early in the season before they finally pass it over to Fields, because I think Fields has shown too much potential and ability to help that team win, to just keep him on the bench behind Andy Dalton. If Andy Dalton isn't being able to matriculate the ball down the field and get the offense moving, because we all know the Bears defense is going to show up. But we'll see how everything turns out. And also in Las Vegas, there's Derrick, Carr, and Mariota. And I think this is probably a nice complimentary batch of quarterbacks, kind of like Jameis and Taysom Hill. Because Carr and Mariota, I think Carr is going to, of course, be the starting quarterback, and he does have some good statistics and some good weapons to work with. But I think Mariota can be a switch up for that Raiders defense when they run some zone reads, some misdirection, or maybe some kind of gadget play. So those are some of the top quarterback matchups going into the 2021 season. But I think for most of those matchups, you kind of know who's going to get the nod to start. And there's also Cam Newton and the rookie Mac. But I have to believe that Cam Newton will be able to hold off the rookie Mac Jones. So in other news, here are my top AFC and NFC contenders as we go into 2021 season. Number one out of the AFC, of course, Kansas City Chiefs, coming off that Super Bowl, still with the weaponry, still with Mahomes and the great coaching. Then we have a surprise, the New England Patriots at number two, AFC contender. Cam getting some weapons and some of those defensive players coming back, and also free agents joining. So look out for the Patriots this year coming out the AFC. Number three, I got the Buffalo Bills as they continue to do good things, extending that quarterback's contract and keeping some nice weapons in the fold, bringing also in Sanders from the Saints as a receiver. Then we have the Cleveland Browns at number four with that great tandem at running back and receiver. And will Baker Mayfield be able to do his thing, as the defense with some good additions like Clowney will probably be pretty stout again this year, and the Browns may make a nice playoff run. At number five, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Will this be the year that Lamar Jackson has some playoff success, or will teams begin to catch on to what the Ravens are trying to do in their running offensive attack? And then we have the Titans at number six with King Henry and also Tannehill getting new weapon Julio Jones to go along with A.J. Brown. So Titans should have a great offense this year. Just look out for that Titans defense and will they be able to rise to the occasion. And 7A and 7B will be the Miami Dolphins and the Las Vegas Raiders. I really think the Raiders will do some nice things on offense this year. And I think the Dolphins defense, and I think maybe this will be the year Tua gets it right. So those are some of my top AFC contenders. And in the NFC, I got number 1, the Buccaneers, of course, coming off that Super Bowl win, bringing back the whole team basically. So they're going to be right there to compete with whoever's ready in the NFC. And at number 2, I got the Rams with that solid defense, strong on the front end, strong on the back end, and also bringing in Matt Stafford. Maybe he can air it out more to those Rams receivers. And number 3, you got the Packers in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers returning to the team after taking a brief hiatus with Jeopardy. And coming back, adding Randall Cobb to go along with that offense. So the Packers are going to be pretty successful on offense this year. I just wonder how their defense will hold up, and they also have a nice running back. And then we have the Washington football team. And with the Washington football team, I think you know you're going to get defense. You've seen what they can do up front. But it's just a matter of will get the Fitzpatrick magic going. And they have some nice weapons they've added as well on offense for the Washington football team. But you know that defense is going to be there. So look out for that Washington offense and see how consistent they are this year. And number 5, I have the New Orleans Saints. Even without Drew Brees, Sean Payton, the head coach, is going to do something nice with that offense. He still has Kamara, and they still know how to put together wins and run a great offensive system. And they also have a solid defense. And number 6, Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks will have, of course, leading the team, leading the charge. They will have QB who will take the team as far as he can, and you know he will do his thing, of course. But we know they have some great receivers as well, and those receivers have size and they have speed. So I think with this season, Russell Wilson is going to be carrying the team somewhat, because I'm not sure about that Seattle Seahawks defense. But as long as Russell Wilson is there, the team will be able to move the ball, and it does have some nice weapons on the outside as well. But will this be the season that the Seattle Seahawks get their running game finally on track? And at 7A and 7B, I have the San Fran 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. The San Fran 49ers, once again, they have Trey Lance and also have Garoppolo. Of course, they believe Trey Lance will get more looks this year, and as a rookie come in so he can run and pass. And also they have nice running backs. They have nice receivers like Deebo Samuel. So the San Fran offense is like clockwork. How will their defense perform? And Arizona is one of those rising offenses. Kyler Murray, how will he perform in this season with Hopkins, and also bringing in AJ Green? So look out for these teams in the NFC as my top NFC contenders. And here are four defenses to watch for all you fantasy football players. If you don't know what defense to get one of these defenses, because they're probably going to be pretty good. And this is in no particular order: Washington football team, LA Rams, Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, Tampa Bay Bucks, Chicago Bears, Cleveland Browns, or Miami Dolphins. And here's some of the top offenses to watch for: Dallas Cowboys, Patriots, LA Rams, New Orleans Saints, Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Bucks, Green Bay Packers, Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, and the Arizona Cardinals. So those are a little bit of fantasy clues if you play fantasy ball. Just something to keep in mind. And also, I wanted to take a brief pause in the show and just express my condolences and my rest in peace condolences for a young man who was a big influence in my community and in the Carleton County, South Carolina community. His name is Patrick Thomas, and he was a mentor to many young black and brown youth students. He was a man's man. He was a gentleman. and he did a lot of things in the community to uplift people and to try to set an example for the young black youth. So definitely a big loss for the community, and just someone I wanted to give a brief moment of silence to, somebody who made a difference in our community and showed a lot of young black men and women the way. So just a brief moment of silence for Patrick Thomas. And getting back to the NFL news, recently an altercation was revealed and shown, broadcasted live, when Richard Sherman was seen aggravated and beating on a parent-in-law's doors, and it was a domestic incident where he did end up getting arrested for this, and he does have some pending charges behind this as well. So Richard Sherman was one of those players who was kind of lurking in free agency, and it was being speculated where he would sign and who he would sign with. After this latest incident, will Richard Sherman want to take some time away from the game to heal himself mentally or spiritually, and try to find some common ground after being arrested and being exposed, as far as maybe mentally he may have a few issues, or he may be going through some things that are not in his best interest right now. So we'll see if Richard Sherman is able to find a team this year, or if he ends up sitting out the year of signing later in the season, as he may get some treatment or help or counseling he may need that could help be beneficial for him. And when it comes to the latest on Deshaun Watson, the latest was him being aggressive toward a camera crew, asking why they were videotaping him. But the reason was because everyone is curious of what's going to be the resolution, or how will the NFL proceed with this situation. Now that you have over 22 women coming onto a lawsuit, and also 10 women making police issues with you as far as complaints to the police about your behavior, it's not a good look for you. And it seems the team was trying to trade him earlier in the offseason, but they're not able to get what they want in return, based on him being looked at as damaged goods, or teams not knowing when he will be available to play, or if he will be suspended this year. So it's a murky situation, and like I said before in the previous episode, I just felt like Deshaun Watson should come out and apologize to these women publicly and try to do what he can to make it right, because I think there's too many women who are saying the same thing about you, and it shows like a predatory type of behavior, or some of the fetishes he was involved in. And some of these women are beginning to go to media and reveal some of these things that transgressed allegedly, and there's some things out there, and maybe that's also why he was a little snappy with the media when he saw them on that day, because maybe he's knowing that some of his truths are being revealed, and he's not as squeaky clean as he would have liked a lot of people to believe he was. So we'll see what happens with the NFL and Deshaun Watson. Personally, I feel that Goodell should have already stepped in by now, just because I think there are too many cases, and there's too much of the same type of patterns going on with these cases of women saying the same thing. And it's nothing to say that he's violated the NFL's personal misconduct policy, because this has shown he's had levels of personal misconduct with various women. Rather it was consensual sex, or showing himself nude, or trying to force them to do whatever he wanted them to do. So I don't know what the holdup is, but obviously he was one of those future faces of the league. So I guess the league is trying to hesitate and procrastinate as far as make a big thing until something more damaging comes out, or legal charges are actually drawn or brought about to him. So we'll see what happens, but I just don't think it's a good look for the NFL when they say NFL cares, when they do the thing for breast cancer awareness. And this is a man who has victimized, allegedly, not countless, but over 20-something women that we know of. And these women may not have felt comfortable going to the police or thought it was a big deal, but some women took it they were very upset about it. And other women may not have had the same exact experience, but who knows? We wasn't there. We can just go by what he says and what she says. But if you have a certain amount of women saying the same thing, there's a good chance it could be true. So we'll see how everything pans out. If Goodell will finally end up putting Deshaun Watson on the NFL Commissioner exempt list. So we'll see. And when it comes to week 1, my top week 1 matchups are going to be number 1, Cleveland, Kansas City. I think this will be a very good game with that Cleveland Browns defense coming against that Kansas City O. We're going to see what happens. And also with the Cleveland O going against the Kansas City D, we're going to see. And number 2, I got Pittsburgh, Buffalo. How will Roethlisberger be against that Buffalo defense? And how will the rookie running back perform in his first start? How will the Buffalo Bills offense try to attack that Pittsburgh defense? Now with Melvin Ingram, Minka Fitzpatrick on the back end. So it's going to be a nice chess match. Also, the Green Bay New Orleans game should be a nice game. 2 nice offensive teams airing it out. And last but not least, Arizona and Tennessee. That should be an entertaining game as well. It'll be interesting to see how Arizona comes out with Kyler Murray this season with the mixture of running pass, and also how will the Titans utilize Julio Jones in the passing game, and will King Henry continue his dominance on the ground. So got some nice matchups for week 1. And before I end this segment, I want to ask you a question. Who is your favorite team and why? What makes you a fan of the team that you're rooting for the NFL this season? How did that team become your favorite? How did they get on your radar? What was something about that team that made you say, I want to root for this team? I like the organization, or I like the colors, or I like this player. Do you follow more of a team, or do you follow more of a player? Does it matter what team it is? If the player goes there, as long as you like the player, would you still root for that team? So when I thought about this question, I asked myself the question of why was the team my favorite team when I was growing up? And for me, growing up as a youngster, it was the Falcons. And they were my favorite team because that was the first NFL game I went to. My father took us to that game, my brother and I. And it was like the Falcons when they had the red jersey. So this is like in the 80s. But I stayed a fan, continue to be a fan through the Deion era, through the Dirty Bird era, and the Michael Vick era. And also around those times, I grew up when Deion Sanders went to the Cowboys. I became a Cowboys fan, and they were successful. And I was a fan of Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin, and that offensive line and the defense they had. And as I got older, I began to admire more of the organizations, how organizations are run, and their personnel decisions. So I became more of a fan of the Ravens and the Patriots. The Ravens when they had Jamal Lewis, Ray Lewis, Jermaine Lewis, Shannon Sharp. It was just, they had such a dominant defense and such a solid offense. And Patriots, they had such a dynasty over time when they were more defensive heavy, bringing Brady along, and then shifting to more offensive when they lost some key players on defense, and then bringing in players like key tight ends and Randy Moss, and nice veteran running backs and veteran cornerbacks. So it's just some of the things I look at when I'm thinking about teams. Even though now I love the game more than just focusing on one team, I do like some of the different traits of certain organizations, like the toughness and the competitiveness in the Raiders and their commitment to excellence. or the fan base and the loyalty and the hard work and the dedication to Pittsburgh Steelers, dominant defense, a nice running back, nice receivers, loyal fan base, steady front office, such a legacy at coach because they haven't had a lot of turnover there. And also the Browns fan base of a team with a fan base of a city who just continues to root for you, whether it's a good season or a bad season. So that's some of the things that I look at and admire when I'm looking at which team will be a favorite or certain aspects of different teams I admire. But who's your favorite team and why? Maybe you could leave a comment or a text or a DM, or maybe you can leave your opinion. Maybe you can go back and forth with the host, with the audience for some engagement, you know. But coming up next in Block 2 with the Rob U Sports Stu Show, complete NFL Week 1 2020 picks for September 12th. NFL Kickoff in August. So keep it locked. And welcome back to the Rob U Sports Stu Show, NFL 2021 Week 1. Let's take a look at some of the games. So the kickoff game Thursday night, September 9th, 8:20 p.m. Dallas Cowboys at Tampa Bay Brady Bucks. Tampa Brady. So in this game, I believe the Cowboys offense will have some success, but I think it's going to be that Cowboys defense that won't be able to slow down the Tampa Bay offense. And also the Tampa Bay defense will eventually, I believe, get after the Cowboys. So I'm going to go Cowboys 19, Tampa 27. And then we have Sunday games. September 12th, 1 p.m. Arizona at Tennessee. Now this is one of my games of the week just because of the matchup, the players involved, the weapons, the playbooks, the coaches. So this game's going to be, I believe, it's going to be a close one. Should be pretty action-packed. But in this game, I believe Tennessee will be able to hold off the Cardinals in a competitive game to edge them with Cardinals 24, Titans 27. But this will be a good game, I believe. Then we have Jacksonville at Houston. And I think Jacksonville is going to be a mystery offensively until we get an idea of how they're going to use their rookie quarterback, and also what the offense scheme is going to be with Urban Meyer returning to football after so many years, and he previously coached in college. So how is he going to bring a pro type of system, or will it be more of a spread? We'll see. But also with the Houston Texans, I believe that, they're probably not going to have Deshaun Watson playing or starting, because I believe they want to try to keep him injury-free if they try to use him as trade bait or finally get a deal they want as the league decides what they want to do with the situation. But I just think that this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I believe the Houston Texans will get that win. Houston 20, Jacksonville 13. And then we got the Chargers going to take on the Washington football team. And I believe this will be a close game. I'm going to go with the Washington football team, however, to pull out the victory based on that defense. And Chargers 23, Washington 24. Then we have Minnesota at Cincinnati. And it'll be interesting to see how the Minnesota offense performs this year. Of course, they have Cook. He's going to also always do his thing. But about those receiving core, I think it's not going to be as good as it was in previous years. Also, Cincinnati with Burrow returning, also bringing in some weapons he's familiar with. So we're going to see how this goes. But I believe Cincinnati will defeat the Vikings with a final score: Cincinnati 31, Minnesota 27. And then we have the New York Jets versus the Carolina Panthers. Carolina at home. And we're going to see how Darnold gets acquainted with this Carolina offense. He has some weapons there, of course, with Christian McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson. Carolina also has a sneaky good defense. And the New York Jets with their rookie quarterback, how will they come in there, will perform? Definitely believe Carolina will be able to take care of the Jets. With a final score, Carolina 26, New York Jets 17. And then we have the Philadelphia Eagles flying south to take on the Atlanta Falcons. And it'll be interesting as well to see how Matt Ryan performs now that Julio Jones is gone, and who will be some of his more reliable targets. And with the Philadelphia Eagles, with Jalen Hurts believed to be the starter unless there's a trade for Deshaun Watson late in this preseason. But with Jalen Hurts, I believe this is going to be the season that he begins to make a name for himself as far as earning the respect of the Philly fans and his teammates, of course, and the coaching staff beginning to trust him more. Even though they may be looking to see if they can try to get Deshaun Watson for the right deal, I think Jalen Hurts is ready for the challenge. He has some new weapons. He has brought in Smith, the ace receiver. He has Riga. He has some nice running backs that can complement the passing game. He also has some scramble ability. I think he wants to work on that completion percentage and not taking too many unnecessary risks passing the ball, and also protecting himself when he decides to scramble. But I have the Philadelphia Eagles pulling out this victory against the Falcons with a final score of Philly 34, Atlanta 27. And then we have the Pittsburgh Steelers and Buffalo Bills, one of the other games I thought would be the best matchups of the week. And with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm curious to see how their rookie running back is going to perform against that Buffalo defense, which is pretty good in their own right. Also, the Buffalo offense is going to probably continue to be explosive, but I think that Pittsburgh Steelers secondary, Minka Fitzpatrick particularly, will be able to try to ball hawk some of those deep bombs he tries down the sideline. So I'm looking for a few interceptions here, maybe a strip fumble there. But I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will pull out this victory with the defense and the running game. Final score, Pittsburgh 29, Buffalo 27. But this will be a good game, I believe. Then we have Seattle versus the Colts. And the Colts probably still waiting on see if Carson Wentz will come back healthy, when he will be ready. Also, Seattle with Russell Wilson and those receivers. I don't think they're going to have any problem with the Indianapolis Colts. Even though the Colts have defense, I don't think their offense will be able to do enough to keep up with the pace that the Seattle Seahawks will probably set offensively or scoring. So I have Seattle 24, Indianapolis Colts 13. And in the Sunday evening games, we have Cleveland versus Kansas City. Now this is going to be a good one, I believe, as well. Cleveland with that revamped defense, now bringing in Clowney. And, you know, the Cleveland offense speaks for itself with those weapons at receiver, and everybody seems to be fully healthy now. The weapons at running back, everybody seems to be fully healthy now. So Baker Mayfield, I think he's getting some confidence from himself and his team and his coaching staff. I think he's going to be ready this season to prove that he's not just going to be a quarterback that can push aside and bring in the next guy. I think he wants to take control of the situation and show he can do what it takes for this Cleveland Browns offense and team to be successful. The only thing is the Kansas City Chiefs definitely known for their offensive firepower, so this game I look to be a shootout. But I think down the stretch, the Cleveland Browns defense may make one or two key plays that will allow them to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs at home. And the final score, Cleveland 29, Kansas City 23. But I think this will be a good game, but I'm going for the upset. You never know. Looking for the Cleveland Browns to do big things this season. So we'll see if they can start off on the right foot and the right note against the key competitor of the AFC. Then we have Denver versus New York Giants. New York Giants getting Saquon Barkley back. And I believe they will have enough to defeat the Broncos with a final score, Giants 21, Broncos 17. Then we have the Green Bay at New Orleans. Two offensive firepowers two offensive powerhouses. And will Jameis Winston have what it takes and not throw any interceptions or too many interceptions, protect the ball? And will Taysom Hill come in for that gadget play to keep the defense off balance, to run a little zone read, zone option, reverse trickeration, quarterback throwback? And will Green Bay continue the offensive prowess with Aaron Rodgers returning, with Randall Cobb at receiver? And I think the Green Bay offense will be a little more fluid with the Saints missing their key or one of their star receivers, Mike Thomas. I'm going to go Green Bay 34, New Orleans 24, but this will be an entertaining game, I believe. Also, Miami at New England. New England with that revamped defense, revamped weapons on offense. Miami, Tua coming into another season. How will he progress with his awareness and his maturity as a quarterback and a leader of men? Decision making, we'll see. But I have to go New England 31, Dolphins 21. And in the night game, we have the Chicago Bears at the Los Angeles Rams. And this game, I believe, will be a close game. These two teams are both known for their defense, and the Rams are definitely also morally known for their offense than Chicago Bears at this junction. But who's to say if the Bears will start Fields or Dalton? I'm doing this picks in August, so it's not like I can predict who will be the starting quarterback. But against that Rams defense, I have to say, regardless of who his starting quarterback is, I think the Rams will be able to get after him, and that defense will make their impression known in the game. So I'm going to go Los Angeles Rams 21, Chicago Bears 20. And in the Monday night game, we have Baltimore at the Las Vegas Raiders. And in this game, I have a close, high-scoring game. It'll be interesting to see what kind of progress Lamar Jackson has made on his passing in this playbook and this style of play they use with so much run heavy and passing the tight ends. And it'll be interesting to see how Gruden and Carr utilize all these weapons they now have on offense. With all these receivers, running backs, they have Jacobs, they have Drake. They have so much offensive explosiveness, not to mention the tight end, nice receiving core. So, only question with the Raiders will be their defense. But one thing they did do was draft a lot of safeties. And I think the plan there, the vision there is to have these young safeties roaming the secondary so they can intercept these passes from these teams as they try to keep scoring against the Raiders, because we pretty much know the Raiders are at least going to be able to score this season. And there's going to be a lot of chances for teams trying to catch up and tie the game or come back on the Raiders passing. And maybe that's when some of these brand new DBs will come in for the Raiders and make some key plays. So I'm going to go for upset here. Baltimore 27, Vegas Raiders 33. To get that nice victory over the Ravens at home. So we'll see how the games go. Like I said, I'm doing these picks in August. It's August 8th. It's August 17th, maybe the 18th by the time I drop this. So just see how the season goes on week 1. And maybe you agree with some of these picks, maybe you don't. But we'll see how it goes. That's why they play the game. And that's why we make the picks, to see if we're right, we're wrong, where were we wrong, and how wrong were we. But I still would put my picks, compare my picks to anybody on TV, any host, any network. We can go game for game. But I just want to thank y'all for checking out this show. Thank you for checking out another episode of the Rob U Sports Show. As we go into the NFL 2021 season, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me who's your favorite team. Leave some feedback. Also, be safe out there. Be blessed. And I'll see you on the next. Peace.